Everybody good to go?
We're ready.
Good morning, everybody in the room and everybody online. Thank you for joining us. We do have a quorum today. So I will open the meeting for August the 12th, 2024 of the CFCOG. We are in session.
All right, I will do a roll call. So Mr. Forte,
Here.
Mr. Rivenbark.
Here.
Ms. Bozeman.
Here.
Mr. Great. Not here. Ms. Batts.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Newton.
Yeah, here.
Mr. Barbie.
Here.
Ms. Dawson.
She's not gonna be
Not
here.
going to be able to be here, but we do have a quorum.
All right. Chairman Rivenbark, would you like to lead us in an invocation and pledge? Your brother was pretty.
I'll do the pledge. You do the invocation.
Thank us, Lord, for bringing us all together and everybody's here safely. We ask that you guide us as we make decisions that affect all four counties. And we ask that you watch over, in particular, all of our first responders who are still dealing with the aftermath of the tropical storm that invaded us. We ask that you keep them all safe. We ask all these things in your most holy and precious name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Have agenda amendments. Alan, what do we got?
I do not have any amendments to the agenda.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we will move on. Isn't a vote on something that doesn't exist? I will ask for a motion on the approval of the minutes which you received last week.
I'll say.
Who was that? Jackie and Brenda? Roll call?
Mr. Forte.
Aye.
Mr. Rivenbark. Aye. Ms. Bozeman.
Aye.
Mr. Great. No, not here. Ms. Batts.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Newton.
Yes.
Mr. Barbie.
We'll just boogie along here.
This is going to be a very short meeting. I think.
Yeah, that's breaking my heart. I gotta get back into work mode. I haven't done Italy in the last 7 weeks because my grandson was with. Finance report.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is, I'm gonna present our, June 30th financial statements there. This is, when I did this is the closest I had to having them completed. I'm still working on some final reconciliations today and tomorrow for the audited version. So, but there shouldn't be that big of a change between the expenses. It's more of the revenues when I make sure that we have billed for everything. But as you can see, most of our departments were, we have fully expended our grants. The CFC, the reason why it has 92% expenditure is because the HUD programs and the ESG programs are on a different fiscal year end than us. And so that variance, sometimes I don't quite put enough in the reserve that I was planning on having for the following year. So, but we did not have to, we did spend all of our money that we were required to spend for the fiscal year. In planning services, the reason why, let's see, the disaster recovery, we weren't able to spend all that. So we did have to return 153,000 back to the state. We were actually originally planning on them. They had spoke to us about possibly extending it for another year. And then I'm not sure, Alan will have to explain what exactly happened, but for some reason they decided, I don't know if it was the state pullback, whether or not we could continue for another year in that spending. So that was
When the state was preparing the contract amendment to extend the grant, their legal team or whatever realized after they had told us that we, not no problem, but that they would extend the grant. The legal team realized that it was that the funds were appropriated in such a way that they expired and they did not have the authority to extend the grant. That was they told us that, like,
In May, it was,
we were waiting on the grant amendment.
mhm.
It was all worked out.
All right,
And then they were like, actually, we're not sending you a grant amendment. You have a month now to spend.
$153,000.
We received the funds. It's $282,232.
I don't have the date on me. It was about
It was 20, it wasn't.
2 years.
20
2 years.
Two,
We had
it was
2
two, it
years.
was 2 years. It was 20, let's see, this is 2024, so.
It was-
20
It was
22.
complicated. We got the funds and it took a long time to get the contract worked out. With the state, for whatever reason, the funds were appropriated from the state to the statewide COG association. And from them down to the COGs. There was just a lot of administration that took,
It took 6 months to even before we could even, after the start of the grant, till we even started,
so we were able to spend any funds.
before they even had a contract to us, probably longer than that.
We lost
So during
staff.
that period of time, we were waiting, we couldn't find a place to put $150,000.
We couldn't spend it. We couldn't get
Yeah, we
reimbursed.
couldn't commit fund. We weren't under contract.
So we couldn't spend it.
spend the grant. So the grant was
But my
legislative.
point is, we had a long time when they were trying to administer it. Why didn't we have, once the funds were made available, did we have plans for where these funds would be spent?
We did.
We did, we were gonna hire like a senior planner,
Well, and we had one.
and we had,
Who
but
left us right around that time. So it was an unfortunate
series of.
series of events. And we had a hard time replacing that position and it didn't work. And then when we
There was
were,
not a Plan B for what we could use some disaster relief funding for?
a lot of the Plan B was involved in grant extension, which that was ripped out from this. So it was not as successful for sure as we would have liked. There's no question.
Why did we spend the original $128 of this $282,000? How do we spend the $128,000 that we did spend? What was
Staff
that?
costs, we
Yeah.
also did.
Helping our local
Training.
governments with a variety of things.
We also did that training, the
All right,
disaster,
we did a big
we
training
did a FEMA training.
on
The,
for our local governments on administering federal, and this was actually a grant requirement.
mhm.
Across the state was, in helping our local governments, training on administering federal disaster recovery funds.
Did that require hiring outside consultants? How do we wind up spending a?
That one did have an outside consultant.
And that was actually brought in from the, all the college use that training,
Yes.
the outside consultant, correct?
Yes, that was part of the grant scope, was that the statewide COG association had to develop the statewide training with a consultant. It was a challenging project, unfortunately. There's
Is
a lot
there
of
any,
potential.
is there any chance that they will, in next year's budget, give this back to us?
Doubt it,
Okay,
but
God, I hate giving back $150,000.
yeah, tell me about it.
I just, do we have a best practices? Did we learn anything from this? Such that we're not gonna find ourselves in this bind again and have to return disaster relief funds?
I mean, I think we certainly learned some things. I think there are inherent challenges in these sort of one-off programs that are designed to be local assistance programs where you don't have the staff capacity, the existing staff capacity to administer the program. You have to find new staff because staff are busy doing their day-to-day job. You have to find new staff to essentially spin up a program that in 2 years, you're going to dismantle. And so finding quality staff to lead, if they're quality staff, they're employed. Finding quality staff who are willing to leave their job for a job that is guaranteed for no more than 2 years
It makes it
It's
difficult.
just a challenge. You know, if it were like most of our COG programs are formula programs, recurring funding. We know without a change in federal or state legislation, we're going to continue to get the funds and we can operate a recurring program. When we get short bursts of funds, particularly where they are related to us staffing something, depending on the quality of applicants, like it's a very difficult hiring market right now, getting quality people in a short period of time for a job that's term limited is always a challenge. And so I think some of these challenges were expected. They just, some of them materialized, I would say, even given that we expected them, they materialized in a way that, was even worse than we anticipated.
Why do other COG offices have these?
I think a lot of them struggle, especially some of the COGs that are not in the major metropolitan areas that have more employees to choose from.
I think other
Some
COGs
COGs
back money.
contracted some of the services out. Particularly COGs that are in more metropolitan areas that have more consultants that do this type of work. I think it just sort of depends.
And we're not, and I don't think, we're not unusual in having to give back this money. This
No.
is a other COG issue. I mean, it's not just us, it's the other COGs had issues spending all the money as well.
Well, there's something wrong when we can't administer fundings that's made available to assist the counties. Something's wrong
Agreed.
inherently.
The SCRC and the flood mitigation, those are both grants that started this year, but they're going to be continuing through the next year. So those funds, we plan on having those fully utilized. And then the ARPA program is also one that is multi-year, and we have until 2026 to spend these funds. The aging and planning, of course, that's probably the only grant that we have that is fully in our year. The only program where everything is fully in 1 year. And so we've spent all of that. The little bit of ARPA funds that are left and the funds to the counties, that is not really underspent for your like the Meals on Wheels and the FDA, the USDA funds that we get. That is an estimation that we have to put in there, and it funds it, but we have to fund it based on, anyway, we overestimate a little bit just to make sure that it was covered. We did not give any money back. We don't get a set amount. We just, if we spend it, we get to spend it.
Right.
And of course, from a
And-
budgeting standpoint, it's better to over budget so that we have the authority to spend it. And rather than under budget, and then we don't have the authority to spend.
Yeah, you gotta have
And
permission.
We have to ask permission last minute, so yeah, we always overestimate. And so that will always be
Yeah.
something that looks like we didn't spend funds.
But we're not losing those funds. We're not giving them back. It's just an over budget just to make sure that we had enough to cover the USDA funds. And then, of course, the workforce are all 2-year funds, and we were a little bit underspent with our contractors for adult dislocated worker and youth. When I'm sure Brian will address that when he gives his report for aging, but it's just we work with them, but sometimes they don't quite get as much spent as we hope that they. that they would.
As long as I'm on this board, it's been,
And we try to, I expected last year I got a huge expenses in June, so that's what I had been expecting to get like them back billing. They didn't do that this year, even so was hard to gauge what they were gonna do. So
Why?
because they sometimes overestimate what they're gonna do and don't follow through, and sometimes we're talking about the contractors, they underestimate what they're gonna do and don't follow through. We have some issues.
Have any mechanism or anything we can do in terms of oversight to see that they complete?
We do, I mean.
So we do that internally, our monitoring. However, it's kind of a challenge to look at being underspent. Although they were underspent, we did meet our quota. They meet their quote, primarily meet most of their quotas for service. It's just they were able to do it in a more efficient manner. It didn't cost as much money. And that's dependent upon the population of people that we serve. Now, the benefit or the good news within this, even though they're underspent, is that this money does not go away and did not go back to the state. We spent everything that was required to be spent so that we didn't have to return any funding. So that just allows us to have more funds available to continue to move and serve the program in the new program year. And so we can increase and enhance, and it gives us opportunities to actually even occasionally try some new methods and new methodologies because we are able to fund it because we still have that money available to us.
So I'm hearing you did the barest minimum, so you wouldn't have to return money.
No, ma'am, that's not
But
what I
what I'm
said.
saying is that when we don't get our contractors to spend the money available to us, then we're not serving as fully the people that we need to serve in these 4 counties. Am I wrong?
Well, I apologize if that's what you took from what I said. That's not really what I said. What I said was they did meet their quotas of the numbers that they were contracted to serve. They just did it more cost effectively, so they didn't spend all of those funds. Therefore, in negotiations this year, we've increased their projections to increase the number of people they serve. And we also are constantly looking for opportunities to expand and grow programs to be able to reach more individuals. So I think it's a misnomer to say that we did the bare minimum. We actually served what we contracted to serve, but we just did it more efficiently.
So the
cost-wise.
contractors did what they were tasked to do, but it inured to us to broaden the task to serve more and broaden the service
Yes, ma'am,
range.
and that's what.
So that was on us, the COG. And the standards that the contractors were to work towards.
Yes, so
Okay.
once really realizing that in our negotiations for this new program year, we've increased their projections to ask them to serve more individuals.
That's good.
So that we can be more effective and reach more individuals.
Good. So the goal.
Yes, ma'am.
By the way, Brian Jackson is our Assistant Workforce Development Director. Ginger can't be with us today, so Brian is filling in.
No worries.
And then, general operations, we are a little bit underfunded. That was because not underfunded, we are underspent because, a couple things. I'm actually projecting us to have, about $120,000, fund balance increase this year, unless something dramatic changes during the audit, and that's due to some of our LGS planning contracts. They didn't cost us quite as much as the contracts were, so we were able to we had a few more funds for those, so we made about $40,000 on those planning contracts. In the admin department, we did not budget for, we had $42,000 in interest earnings this year, and that was something that was not budgeted for, and we didn't have a plan to spend that. So, and then the AAA, instead of we use some of their administrative funds, their state funds that we can use for part of our match, so we didn't have to use our dues for that. And then also I had budgeted for our salary study and possibly a personnel policy update. Personnel policy, I think, is we didn't get into that in the salary study. We're only about halfway through it. So we got billed for a third of it. So that'll be in this coming up fiscal year. We'll finish that up. And that wasn't that expensive. It actually came in a lot cheaper than what I originally budgeted for. So we're pleased with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's your financial report? Well,
Questions? I know I kind of went through it kind of quickly.
anybody have any questions? Dawn? Thank you, Dawn. Much appreciate.
We do,
Hey.
we do need a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Accept that.
I need a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved.
We have Bobby, Brenda Bozeman second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Forte.
Aye.
Mr. Rivenbark.
Aye.
Ms. Bozeman. Ms. Batts.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Newton.
Aye.
Mr. Barbie.
Thank you all. Alan, you're up, buddy.
All right, so got a couple things to update you guys on. So first of all, as a reminder, in your packet is our contract summary. That is, as you remember, hopefully remember, you guys have delegated to me, authority to enter contracts on behalf of the COG for certain, meeting certain criteria. And so, here's a list of the contracts that we have entered since, my last report. I don't think I'm gonna go through those, individually. I think it is worth noting, among some of the things that are in there, our planning department is a sub-consultant on Pender County Comprehensive Plan Project, with Clarion and Associates. We received our allocation for, our NGA for the aging department, in the amount of $4.4 approximately million. And just so, you know, a note on that. So for example, you know, one of the reasons it's always difficult to budget, you know, we adopted a budget at our last meeting and got our final award for aging after we adopted the budget. And so, you know, adjustments will need to be made to make sure that, our budgeting numbers are more accurately reflected in actuals. Something else, a couple other things that are actually on the contract summary that I had going to mention separately. So we have changed our phone provider recently, and it went fairly smoothly, which I think anytime you change technology, there's a risk that it's not going to go smoothly, and it went pretty smoothly. A lot of work on behalf of the staff to get us there, but we do have a new phone provider. Phone numbers are unchanged and all that, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. I also wanted to bring your attention. We entered a contract with UNC Chapel Hill School of Government for a Lead for North Carolina Fellow. And Danny Nickel from that program is here. And I wanted to introduce Danny to you. So if you're not familiar with the Lead for North Carolina program, and I know a lot of local governments in our region have had fellows from the School of Government, Danny is a recent college graduate. He trained for a little while with the School of Government, and their Lead for North Carolina program is essentially an AmeriCorps. I guess it's a UNC School of Government branded version of AmeriCorps. That's probably what they call the project when they apply to AmeriCorps for that project. And so we are going to employ Danny probably roughly 50% or so in admin, just sort of helping us with some tasks that are, you know, always on the back burner and are difficult to get to. And then as well in our local government services department, just sort of supporting some of the work that we're doing with our local governments. So Danny, do you mind? I didn't necessarily tell him. I told him I was going to introduce him to the board. I'm going to put him on the spot and ask him if you could just tell the board a little bit about yourself.
Well, pleasure to meet you all and those online as well. My name is Danny Nickel. I recently graduated from Elon University in May of this year with my degree in political science and public policy. I entered into a contract through AmeriCorps with the UNC School of Government through June, the end of June of next year, and had the privilege of interviewing with Alan and Wes in the spring of this year, and placed here through the School of Government throughout that time. But really interested in working in local government. I have some prior experience with the city of Burlington, North Carolina, and transitioned here. So I'm excited to explore the multi-function of a COG in the state of North Carolina and explore a little bit more. Originally from Western Maryland, but North Carolina has certainly become a home and a place where I intend to stay. So I'm excited to build my repertoire of local government experience with y'all throughout the next year. Thank you.
Welcome.
Really?
Yeah, I graduated in 95.
I already don't like it. Look at that head of hair.
Were you done with the contracts? I just had a question.
Yeah.
So because of our earlier training, so we have this conflict of interest policy. So we you know, it's like any other conflict of interest. We can't vote on things that affect us, but we have delegated that to you. We have said that for certain types of contracts, you can enter into those contracts.
Yes.
Does that absolve us from? I have no conflict of interest with these contracts. I'm not saying that. It just because we went through this earlier today, that question popped up in my head is, okay, so what if you approve a contract for me or my brother or my, you know, whatever, somewhere where there'd be a conflict of interest? Are we exposed there at all? And if you don't know the answer, it's okay. We can get the answer later. It just, because we went through that earlier, it popped up in my mind.
Our attorney's online.
Noel, did you understand that question fully?
Well, I probably have a little bit of a puzzled look on my face. I mean, I think what I understood Mayor Barbie to be asking is, as the delegated, the COG is the person that's entering into the contract. But if an individual member of the COG board, the executive committee, has a connection to that organization, you want to know whether or not you need to disclose that conflict of interest?
Yeah, I was just concerned how that works, Noel, in the sense of he could enter a contract with somebody I would know nothing about until he reported it here. And now I'm after the fact of how do we, are we covered in that we delegated that to him?
Yeah, that's
Or-
an interesting question, and I'll be happy to look into it a little bit further. But I mean, I think arguably because you're not actually approving those contracts, you've already approved a resolution that allows the executive director to enter into those contracts. That you're not able to benefit yourself individually, right? There's no financial benefit to you. You can't put that before the board because Alan is already in a position to approve those contracts. But I'm happy to look at it a little bit closer.
This question.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean,
It is.
you would have to recuse yourself if you were if you were making the vote. Does that somehow pass on to the delegated authority? I doubt it, because I don't check with you guys to find out if there is a conflict.
Yeah, it's after the
Right,
fact, like he
and I mean,
said.
if you think about bigger operations of government, and you know, sort of look at it through that lens. I mean, staff enters into contracts all day long with third-party vendors, and that's because that authority's been delegated to either the manager, or manager or somebody underneath the manager's authority. So those things aren't becoming before the board, so there's no conflict of interest. The conflict of interest would come if, it would come in a different way. If the manager or if Alan said, here's a contract that I want to enter into, and Mayor Barbie or any other member of the executive committee said, well, yeah, I own that company, and maybe Alan knew it, maybe Alan didn't know it. I mean, that's when you would have to certainly disclose and recuse yourself.
Makes sense. All right, thanks for going through that. That was just-
That was a good question.
Yeah.
I never thought of that one.
The other two things I just wanted to highlight under, in my executive director's report, I just wanted to, let you know that our finance staff, spent some time at the local government's, North Carolina Local Government Finance Officers Association Summer Conference, since you guys met last, as well as, that was Dawn and Bet. And then Dawn was at some school government training as well. So from an admin standpoint, I think it's just important to remember that and positive that our finance staff continues to seek training and added expertise. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then finally, at your next meeting will be the time of year where my evaluation will need to happen. And so we often just sort of give you guys the heads up to let you know that that is coming. And that, whether, I think in the past, you guys have delegated the executive committee or some other smaller committee to sort of do that evaluation. But next meeting is the time where that evaluation is.
You know what, I will
Typically takes
put
place.
that to this board. In the past, we've had just the executive committee.
Or you mean the officers? This is the executive committee,
Right,
yes.
the officers of this board do his evaluation. Would you like to leave it that way? Or would you rather have all of us have input? All members of this board. Understand, because it's a personnel, we won't be able to do it online. You'll have to be here.
And we'll leave it to you, no, executive.
It's always worked in the past. We've never had an issue.
This way.
If it's worked and you're not having problems, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's never been an
Fix it
issue.
if it's not broke.
I mean, he's aight. He's aight. We're gonna keep him.
Maybe. Don't want his head to get too big.
All right, so we'll leave it.
It would be important for Mike, in any case, to be on the board, on the committee, because
I
as
have
the chair, we have the most communication.
Yeah.
For sure. So Mike knows
Sure.
more about my daily tasks and operations than the rest of the
We
board.
talk at
for
least
sure.
weekly, so. So we're good with that. Okay,
And I'll
it'll
just
stay that way.
So to clarify, it's gonna be you, Mayor Bozeman, and Mayor Barbie.
Correct.
Okay.
I hate that. Man, Bobby has this tough commute to get here.
Yeah, as far as
You need a bicycle, pal.
So,
we had the mayor of Curie Beach ride his bike.
OPO meeting.
Sure did.
Really? Yeah, he,
Yeah.
yeah, and he does it all the time.
for him,
He's my idol.
40-some miles he said.
Oh, he's my idol, man. He's unbelievable.
Is it an e-bike or is it an actual?
No, it's an actual bike.
And how old is John? He's got to be.
Oh, John.
He's older than me by a lot.
I believe John's at least early seventies, if not mid seventies. He rides everywhere. Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
that's awesome. That is all I have for my report, unless there are any questions from the board. Holly is not here, but she gave me her report, and so I will read it to you. All of our aging services providers were successful in expending their block grant and ARPA funds by end of fiscal year. Our aging program specialist, Madison Bryant, is funded with ARPA and funding, and since those ARPA funds have been expended, her work is wrapping up. Obviously, there's going to be some monitoring and things of that nature of those funds. But her employment ends September 15th. So unfortunately, we'll be saying goodbye to a good employee on September 15th. We have a new aging compliance specialist. Our former aging compliance specialist, Abrielle LeBlanc, took a job, I think, with the New Hanover County. Is that right?
She's with the Department of DSS.
And so we have a new aging compliance specialist, Logan Elkins. Says she is a College of Charleston undergrad and a UNCW graduate school grad. And she's been with us for a month or so, I would say. And so we're very happy to have that position filled. We had some good candidates actually for that position, which was fantastic. So our aging budget packets, we have, and we will send out, I guess we have 3 of them. So we're still waiting on the one from Brunswick County from BSRI, but the other 3 counties, we have the Home and Community Care Block Grant contracts going to be going out this week in Adobe Sign. And so digitally. And so for those of you who are county chairs, you should see that come across your email for signature, as well as, you know, other members of the organization. September 4th, there is a plan for Get Me Not Memory Cafe at the Cameron Art Museum. And PBS, I guess probably UNC TV, will be there, filming about our collaboration to meet caregivers' needs within the area. They reached out to us and, wanted to interview us, and Holly thought what would probably be a lot better would be to come to one of the events that we host and witness that. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to showcase some of the good work that we're doing to help caregivers in our area. The Cameron Art Museum on September 4th. I don't have a time for you right now. I also, Holly, wanted to let you guys know that our, as I mentioned during the contract discussion, our, next fiscal year's or this fiscal year's home and community care block grant allocations came out. And so this year, the amount of funding that's going to go to each county for aging services that's going to flow through the COG, about 1.2 million to Brunswick County, about $500,000, just over $500,000 to Columbus County, also about 1.2 million to New Hanover County, and just under $500,000 to Pender County. And so, those are among the biggest checks that I write and sign as the COG executive director, is the pass-through funds to your aging departments. And so those are the numbers that your agencies are what we previously mentioned, those budget packets. So they're putting together their budget packets about how they're going to spend those funds, and that go into those contracts that we will be signing with you guys shortly. And then there's a little bit of additional money, a total of $43,000 in other funds that are also going to be part of those contracts as well, between $5,000 and $15,000 per county for that. So that's not a significant amount of money. That's elder abuse prevention. No, that's health promotion.
Yeah, health promotion.
Even I don't have all the acronyms down all the time. So that is Holly's aging report. I hope there are no questions. I will likely not be able to answer them. But if there are, I'll try.
Last year, Alan was out of town for a little bit of an extended period on a family matter. And I had to come in and sign those checks. I'm gonna tell you what, that was what, a 4.5 inch stack? like this? That I was getting a cramp from signing, and you do that weekly.
Monthly,
Yeah.
for the aging checks, so every.
Yeah, right. Some of those checks, you go to sign them and you pull a pen back and go, whoa. That's some big numbers. Thank you for what you do. All right.
So, yeah, well, I'm happy that the biggest checks we write are to our counties.
Oh, absolutely. Homeless continuum of care, Andrea. And Andrea, I know I've said this to you once before. You have got the ultimate doppelganger in Mount Vernon, New York, Diane Garino, that I've known since elementary school. Every time I look at you, it's unbelievable.
All my people are in New Jersey, so if you're there, yeah, they're probably, we all look alike. Hi, and good afternoon. So we don't have necessarily the same privileges as the aging department about big checks, but we do the best we can with what we have. We continue to serve in our permanent supportive housing program that will be running through the end of December. 24 individuals, that's 23 households, with financial assistance and case management to help them make sure that they maintain stable housing. Our coordinated entry, which is kind of an entry point for anyone experiencing a homeless crisis to get services. Between January and June, we had about 777 calls. We're averaging about 130 a month, which was up last month to 160. So I feel like that's going up. I do blame our new phone system. We had some issues with messages getting lost and things like that. So we are anticipating that will continue to uptake. Out of those, about 385 entered the coordinated entry. That means they were literally homeless by HUD's definition and in need of services. Of that, 23% were chronically homeless. They've been homeless for over a year. 56% identified having a disability, and about 8% were veterans. So we work to coordinate services to those folks, make sure they get referred to local agencies that can assist, and then kind of follow up on those referrals to make sure they're connected. We did have 134 households leave coordinated entry, and of those, 36% went to a rental with subsidy, 14% found housing without subsidy, which is great, and then about 22%, 10% went to friends or family, and 12 went to emergency shelter. So we are connecting those folks with people that they need. We do currently have over 1,000 households on coordinated entry and need of homeless services, so we continue to work as creatively through that as we can with members of our community. We recently held our ESG, our Emergency Solutions Grant competition. We are funding 5 projects. We did have a little bit less funding than we had last year to kind of divvy up. It was very competitive. We base on scores on how they do their application. 4 returning projects will continue to be funded, and we do have 1 new street outreach project being funded. And then we are deep in our continuum of care funding process right now, which does give a little bit more funding to those who are offering homeless housing solutions in the 3 counties. We are also pursuing some new areas that we haven't necessarily pursued in the past. So there is a youth homeless demonstration project where we can ask that our 3 counties be designated as a YHDP community, which will allow us a little bit more creativity on how we help folks up to the age of 24 that are experiencing homelessness, because we do see that as a growing population. And then we also shared out through our groups and our networks that HUD has a COC build, which is an unusual grant opportunity in that it's going to allow for building rehab and acquisition of new property, which doesn't generally happen. So we are hoping that folks in our area will pursue that as well. And then on some of our collaborative ends, we did just solidify collaboration with our early childhood Smart Starts in all 3 counties to make sure that especially families with young children have the support they need if they're experiencing homelessness, and then we can be of service to those populations and collaborate better. And then we are very excited that we are about to get a little bit of technical assistance around our homeless management information system. One of the things we recognized in our coordinated planning process is the importance of high quality data and how helpful it is for all of our local communities, but also to look at how we're strategically using our resources. So HUD offers where you can apply to get technical assistance and get a little expert input on how your system's running and what you can do to improve. So that is kicking off next week.
And let me just clarify, just a good reminder for everybody that our homeless continuum of care and our homeless services program operates in Brunswick, New Hanover, and Pender counties because that's how it was established before we were asked to take over administrative responsibility. And so Columbus County is a member of the balance of state continuum of care with, I think, 79 other counties. And so when she says all 3 counties in this particular program, we're not serving Columbus County. I think that's the only.
We do field a lot of calls too, and we do make sure that we connect them with the right folks, and we do track that. Yeah.
We ain't quite got that big a problem
Yeah.
but it's heading that way.
Any questions for Andrea? Thank you, Andrea. We're moving on with Wes.
Wes is on vacation this week.
Oh, no, I can't
Wes
say
is-
I was last week.
Vacation, I mean, he's with his in-laws, so perhaps it's a vacation. But he did give me his report. So the local government services department has been under contract with and assisting the town of Carolina Beach with their uniform development ordinance, which was adopted in July, which is fantastic. So that project is closed out. We continue progress working with the consultant team on the Pender County Comprehensive Plan. We are continuing to provide ongoing planning and zoning services for for Boiling Spring Lakes, Calabash, Sandy Creek, St. James, Columbus County, Lake Waccamaw, Bolton, and Sunset Beach.
Wow.
We provided planning and zoning related training sessions to the town of Oak Island, town of Carolina Shores, town of Topsail Beach, and the town of Burgaw. And then West wanted to know that, you guys to know in the areas outside of the NPOs, that local scoring for transportation projects for the RPO has begun. Many of you may have been participating in some of those meetings that we've had. And then also another RPO related news that came out today. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 communities in the state that were approved for multimodal planning grants, so bicycle and or pedestrian planning grants. 2 of the 8 are in the RPO in Brunswick County, Oak Island, and Southport, and our RPO staff did assist those communities in putting those grant applications together. And whether it was because of our participation or not, we're thrilled that we got 2 funded in such a tight, competitive funding environment. So that is good news as well. And that concludes the LGS report, unless there are any questions.
Just want to give kudos to Wes. That whole UDO project for us was huge, took almost 2 years. But major changes that are going to help us in stormwater management. Things like lot coverage and lot fill. And I mean, there was a lot of technical detail in that. Much needed for the town of Carolina Beach. So going forward, as you know, we got a little rain last week. So it's on the front of our brain right now.
Oh, we didn't.
Well, I had a foot of water in the street, so you can have all the water you want. I'll send it to you.
We had quite a few flooded roads in Brunswick as well. All right, workforce development, Brian, I guess it's you since Ginger's not here.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to report. Ginger sends her apologies. She couldn't be here today. Hopefully you'll be able to suffice with me. So our new program year began July 1st, 2024. We have retained the same subrecipients, and our subrecipient contracts are fully executed and in place currently. We closed out our previous year and completed our monitoring with only minor issues, and those issues were already identified from our internal monitoring, so no surprises there, things that we have a finger on the pulse of and that we're addressing. Our preliminary performance, we project will be increased and improved from our previous program year, so we're moving in the right direction there.
Do you have figures?
I can provide those to you because they're not set yet, but I'd be happy to provide you with our performance data.
It's just really hard to follow, because like when we were talking about local government services.
Yes, ma'am.
Wes said specifically where he was doing, what he was doing, and it's really easy to follow that. And you get a sense as to the contribution that he's making, but when I hear that we're getting better, we're reviewing, we're doing this, that doesn't, really give me a sense of what we have done. And when we're seeing improvement without a baseline of where we're coming from, it's hard, just stepping into this room,
Certainly, and when that is publicized, I'm happy to provide that, or Ginger will be happy to present that to the board. That's not a problem. That's a state creation. That's not something we create locally.
Alan, what I mean is if it would be quantifiable when they give their updates, it would be very helpful, as opposed to just saying things like improvement, trending, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean anything to me.
The Workforce Development Board meets bi-monthly,
Yes.
and often it's local. It'll be New Hanover, they move it around, but quite often it's local, right here in New Hanover County. And you're welcome to join their boards.
I would
But
be happy to attend if I knew when they were. That would be helpful.
Dawn sends it out. Actually, Ginger sends it out to the board that it's coming.
Yeah.
And I've attended a handful of
I
them.
don't recall having gotten any notices.
I haven't.
Workforce development meetings. I wasn't aware that they met twice monthly.
No, every other month.
Oh, bi-monthly.
But, yeah.
I-
yeah,
yeah,
it's just
we can
the way-
invite you to those for sure.
That'd be great.
When it was Wednesday,
That'd be really good.
You don't get any
Yeah.
input when you go?
No,
I mean, I'm the Cleo. I'm the chief local elected official. And they might recognize me that I'm in the room, but I'm not allowed to say a word. They're an independent board and they discuss all the workings and all the mechanisms at each meeting.
thank you for that.
So,
be quiet. If I go.
no, you're welcome.
When they were.
Yeah, every other month we meet and, it's pretty enlightening.
I'm sure it would
Next
be,
week.
if it'd be next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, that way I wouldn't be.
Where is it
asking
this
these Obtuse, stupid questions. when I
Not
come
obtuse
here.
or stupid, and you're welcome to, I'm happy to provide you information that you require.
Where is it next Wednesday? What county are they doing it in?
Brunswick County, it'll be at, the,
The BCC Leland.
Brunswick Community College campus.
Leland campus?
I think it also does Zoom.
It's virtual as well.
Virtual, so you would be, if you weren't able to make it, you should be able to do it virtually.
Thank you.
I'll continue my report. We've completed our new four-year strategic plan that's mandated under the legislation. Our plan was approved and our allocations have been released for use. Some of the things that have been happening around our community, we're hosting actually right now, as we speak, our business engagement manager is hosting an employer roundtable on behalf of the state. It's follow-up to an employer survey sent out by the state. It's facilitated by a consultant from the state, and it targets high-growth employment sectors such as manufacturing, construction, fintech, IT, and hospitality. We are continuing to grow our sector partnership opportunities and outreach. With our manufacturing partnership, which has been widely touted locally, statewide, and actually is national. But on July 25th, we actually held a meeting to launch a new construction partnership, a new sector partnership in construction. And we had 26 businesses attend, and they cover all four counties, which are in our workforce development area of Columbus, New Hanover, Pender, and Brunswick. In the pipeline are also sector partnerships for hospitality and tourism, biotech, and life sciences. Just some general workforce data. Most recent unemployment rate, 3.9%, up from 3.2%. The total labor force has increased. 1,481 individuals were served across the region with over 7,000 services in our NC Works Career Centers, and 84 individual employers received services across the four-county region as well.
Brian, real quick, remind me, what did you say the time frame was for that period of those statistics?
That was actually for the individual served and the employers served. That's for the month of July.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Brian, what time is that? Board meeting next Wednesday at BCC?
3:30.
Yeah, I'll make it. I got a 4 o'clock meeting at the BCC campus, but in Bolivia. As I'm president of the foundation there. All right. Any questions for Brian?
No, tough job.
Hey, you have no idea how busy they really are.
I know.
All right, forum update. I got nothing,
The forum has not met since our last meeting.
because they don't do anything even when they meet anyway, but argue.
In fact, I think April, let's just take the forum update off the board agenda until there's work.
Till they do something.
Until there's something worth reporting.
Kind of a bitch fest when you go. All right. I don't have a lot to add, and I'm gonna be honest, because I've been out of the loop for the last 7 weeks. My grandson spent the summer with us and we went to Disney World and here and there. I kind of fell off the shelf a little bit work-wise. So I don't have much. In fact, I don't have anything. Are there any members or anybody else that has any comments they would like to share or?
Yours lifeguards get a big
They did, second in the nation.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Went down to Padre Island, Texas, just got back and won second in the nation in the lifeguard championships.
Good for you. Yeah, congratulations.
Send them our best wishes.
Okay, if there's no other comments, we're at it.
Adjourn.
Is
Jackie? Yep. Good job.
lunch.
All in favor?
Absolutely. He comes up on homeless a lot.
Thank you, Mayor
Something-
Miller.
Good, buddy.